Welcome to Your Bookkeeping Matters. I'm Lisa Turner, bringing you short and snackable weekly episodes on bookkeeping and business matters in an easy to understand way so you can be in control and confident that you know your bookkeeping matters. Let's dive into this week's episode. Thanks for popping me in your ears. Well, today it's not only me. I'm chatting tax planning for your growing biz with the wonderful Melissa Smith from Side Hustle Accounting. I've known and worked with Mel for years and she knows her tax stuff inside out because she's been an accountant for more than 20 years. But these days, instead of working in a traditional tax accounting firm, Mel runs her own practice, Side Hustle Accounting, which she started when she saw a real need for some accurate and quality advice on all things taxation and accounting specific to side hustlers here in Australia. Mel looks after all things tax for you, like your tax returns, financial statements, reviews, advice, and what we're talking about today, tax planning. We're not talking boring today though, which you might think when talking tax. We've got a really snackable show ahead, and by that I mean a really easy to understand, simple, actionable steps and things you must do for your taxes when growing your business. And what you'll find, like with most taxes, the answer is it depends. There's no quick answer on what you need to do or save for because every business is unique. And to grow your business and keep on top of taxes, you need a stellar accountant on your team to be your go-to for all things tax. Hello, Mel, and welcome to the show.
Thanks, Lisa. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with you today.
Amazing. I'm so glad to have you here for what I'm sure will be a really popular episode. Growth and tax planning is something business owners always have loads of questions about.
Yeah.
One question in particular that I get asked all the time, I've grown my sales and I'm pretty sure I need to pay tax. Exactly how much do I need to save?
So it's not always an easy answer. And if you're starting out, sure, putting 10 or 20% aside is a good idea. But with different tax structures, we do have different tax rates. So that's when it's a good idea to chat to your accountant. They can be doing some tax planning for you and give you a bit of an idea what your tax might look like at the end of the year. And you can break that down and start putting some money aside in preparation.
Great. So the answer to that is what is a really good answer. It depends.
Depends, yes.
And as a sole trader, would you say it's more important for them to be on top of this because no one is saving for them because they're not on wages?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to put it aside yourself, basically. No one's there. You don't have an employer taking the money out before you receive it in your account. You're receiving the gross payments. So it's really important that you're putting that money aside because at the end of the day, that tax isn't your money. It belongs to the government. And it's just sitting in your bank account until you pay it on to the tax office.
Yeah, and that's the way it is. It's something you have to be across of as a small business owner to put your own taxes aside. So there's no fixed amount of what to save. The best plan of action is to chat with your tax agent and get a good idea of your scenario, and that percentage or amount looks different for everyone. Why does it look different if you're a company in terms of what taxes you need to put aside?
Yeah, so with a company, they do have a flat tax rate. So, and that's, being taxed from $1. So every dollar of profit you have will all be taxed at the same rate. So for larger companies, that's a tax rate of 30%. But for small businesses, if you fall into what they call a base rate entity eligibility, you've got a 25% tax rate. So in that sense, yes, it is a little bit easier to put that aside. But just remembering that it is taxed from the first dollar of profit.
There's no tax-free threshold for the company profit, but you should also be talking to your tax agent about yourself being on wages and things like that. And there you're also saving for your personal taxes there by having the payroll processed and tax deducted and sent off.
Yeah, correct. So it's not just the income tax for a company. So you've got your PAYG withholding for, that tax you're putting aside as an employee, and then also remembering GST as well.
Exactly. I love that you brought that up. So sole traders, it depends, and get some really good tax advice. And companies, it's the savings you need to put aside is the tax that you've had calculated out of your wages and tax on any profits still in the company. And all of those things are really technical and tricky for small business owners. So make sure that you do go and get that advice. Don't wing it. Don't save the same amount as your friend or just guess, because you don't want to end up with a giant tax bill that you haven't saved for. So if taxes are a new concept to you as a small business owner, there are a few different types. Could you just explain what income tax is and why that's a good thing if you have to pay it?
Yeah. As much as a cliche as it is, it does mean that you're making a profit. You're making money. If you don't want to pay tax, you're either not making money or you're spending all the money that you earn just for the sake of not paying tax. So instead of, only paying 25% tax in the example of a company, if you're spending all the income, you're spending 100%. So you're left with nothing. Whereas if you're paying 25% of your profit, you've still got 75% in your hand. If you want to be making money and you want to have cash flow to be able to inject that back in to marketing or anything like that you want to be able to then further increase your sales, income tax is just going to be a part of that. It's a reality and you've just got to manage it. And I think that's the thing people forget. They don't manage it. So they get this big shock where if you're managing it, you're putting money aside along the way, it's not that big of a deal when it comes to tax time and doing your tax return.
Exactly. And so income tax is a tax on profit.
Yes.
While we're on different structures and income tax, is one structure better than the other for growth and tax purposes?
It's going to be another one of those depends answers. The tax law is just so complex, and one variance in your situation compared to your friends can mean a whole different scenario for you. So it's really important that you are got a great accountant on your team, also your bookkeeper and a solicitor, because they can all work together to work out the best structures. Because there's a tax side of structures, and something like a company might seem like the best way tax-wise, but it might not be the right thing risk management and asset protection-wise, and that's where you need to speak to a solicitor to get that holistic approach to what suits you the best and not just doing what your friend down the road's doing.
I love that, the holistic approach and what is best for you, because everybody is different. There's no one size fits all with structures or tax, and like you said, it's just so complex. So don't wing it, don't guess. Please get some advice. So if you're growing or scaling your business, paying income tax somewhere along the line is going to be something that you need to plan and save for. How can we plan for these taxes if we don't know how much we're going to pay?
Sure. So tax planning is one term that we throw around, and that's something that we often do towards the end of the financial year, around April, May. I often suggest to clients that we're doing it regularly throughout the year. April, May is great, but you've only got a couple of months left, whereas if we start at the beginning of the financial year, you've got plenty of time to be breaking that tax down into instalments and saving it. So speak to your accountant if that's something they do, providing a review where they look at your figures to date, do a bit projections as to what may happen for the rest of the financial year, and from there they can get a tax estimate, and then you can break that down into instalments and be putting that aside. There is also PAYG instalments, which you can be paying that tax you're saving to the tax office as well. That's something to talk to your accountant about. Again, that's another complex area. But at the end of the day, either way, let's look at your figures, do a forecast, and then start putting that money aside.
Brilliant. Quarterly reviews, at the worst, a couple of months before end of financial year, and do some really good tax planning so you have an idea of what to expect. And the quarterly ones, of course, what you've mentioned, are going to be better because it's a more broken down, achievable goal, and you can make some business decisions on the way as well.
That's right. Yep.
With growing your business and the profit, what are some areas that you love to work on and help owners with to step up their tax planning and growth?
Yeah, I think the first part, and nerdy it might sound, I'm a tax agent and I do love doing taxes and helping people manage that. It's really great to see when we've worked really hard during the year, and part of our job is to help you minimise the tax that you have to pay. But when you get to the end of the year and the clients already have that money saved, they're not scrambling to find that money. It's a really great feeling. They can pay the tax, be on their way, continue with their growth and that side of things. So that's always encouraging when you have that understanding that tax is just a part of life, part of being in business. And I think that frees up the clients to dream and put those dreams into action for how they do want to grow their business, whether the current income stream they have or finding different avenues for that income to be coming in and just continue on with their passion for their businesses.
That's amazing. I love that. So you do reviews or strategy sessions with them in terms of what they're hoping to do and grow and give them advice on how to best do that financially.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Wonderful. So I think I know the answer then. What are your absolute must-dos for growing your business?
I think one of the first things is making sure you have a great accountant on your team, alongside a great solicitor and great bookkeeper and marketing and things like that as well. But you need an accountant on your side that you feel comfortable talking to, that you can ask questions of, and who's also there cheering you on. If you feel that you don't have a handle on your money and your tax and you don't feel like you can chat to your accountant about it, then I think you need to think through that first. An accountant should be a valuable part of your team to help you growing.
So communication is key. It needs to be a really good fit so you can dive in and ask questions whenever you're stuck, because there will be questions all the time.
That's right. And as I know you always say, you don't know what you don't know. And the other side of that is you need to know your numbers. It is your business at the end of the day. And I always tell my clients, there's never any silly questions. So please ask. And if you don't feel like you can ask an accountant, then just think through that. Have an accountant that you can ask anything of so that you know what your business is doing and how it can succeed.
Because they're really a part of your team.
Absolutely. And I think they traditionally have been the year-end, prepare tax return type of thing. But you should hopefully feel like you can communicate throughout the year so that you can jump on things.
They're there to help you plan and grow and manage your taxes, not just do your tax return.
Yeah, that's right.
So on the flip side of that, is there anything that you shouldn't do with your taxes and your finance?
I don't think you should be putting it to the side and forgetting about it. The reality of it, it's there. Both income tax, your PAYG withholding for employees, and your super and your GST. That's a reality. I think you've just got to accept that and manage that. Leaving it all to the last minute or even leaving it post end of 30 June. You can't do much once that financial year's closed. There's nothing really you can do. It is what it is. I think not diving in at the very least quarterly, if not, more frequently, and being aware of your numbers, contacting your bookkeeper or your accountant, seeing how you're going, and that way you can be putting things in place that you can do before the financial year has finished.
So if you want to grow, you want to be profitable, successful, don't bury your head in the sand. These are things you have to do and be aware of and on top of.
Yeah, that's it.
Is there anything else that you would like to mention or go through or share with what you do, or something that you like to see clients do with their tax?
Yeah, I think the main thing is if you're starting out or thinking of starting out, get in contact with your accountant. If you don't already have one, find a good one. That way you're getting off on the right foot from the very beginning. You might not need to pay tax in those first couple of years while you're getting started, but if you're already in that process of putting money aside, that's a great tool to have when you're moving forward. And when you hit that growth stage, you're already used to doing that as part of your routine. And also just getting the structure set up right, and also from the start, and knowing things like you're registering your ABN and your business name and your GST and when to do all that. I think the sooner you get onto that, the better. So don't be afraid. If you're only small and starting out, getting the right tools and information is really important.
I love that. Really great advice. Get some people around you to help and do things how you intend to be doing them in the future. I have 2 last questions for you, and they don't necessarily relate to taxes. It's to you and your business as a small business owner. What's your one big tip that makes your finances easier for you as a small business owner yourself?
Budgeting's a big one, and also looking at that regularly. So I'm always checking how my figures are going. Are they as planned? And if not, why not? And just watching my money closely, knowing where it's going. And if the money's coming in, is it coming in on time? Yeah, so that's important.
Great. It really is, because I know businesses that don't look at their numbers. They wait till the end of financial year and they have no clue that they were running at a loss and could have made a change along the way. So great. Keep on looking at your numbers and creating a budget if you can. And it doesn't have to be a difficult budget. It can be a really simple one with a few lines and grow from there once you get more comfortable with it. Amazing. What do you wish you did differently with your numbers in the very early days?
Whoa, with my numbers. This is really one of those ones where, you should practice what you preach. So when I started out, it was very small and I had 2 little children and I was working around that and I didn't have a lot of money coming in, and I'm going to put my hand up and you're not going to be happy with me, but I was an Excel spreadsheet person. So when I should have done the accounting software earlier, like I tell my clients. So yes, life is a whole lot easier when it's all there on one place and your bank feeds are coming in, and for things like budgeting and cash flow, life is a whole lot easier.
I'm glad you brought that up. Even though it was just starting out, the spreadsheets just take longer. You think you're saving money, but it's taking you longer and you're not getting as much insight.
Yeah, that's it.
Brilliant. I love learning from you and listening to you. Normally, my eyes glaze over when talking about income taxes, but you always explain things so well. So thanks so much for chatting with me today.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you very much for having me.
Where can people find you?
So you can find us on the website. It's probably the easiest place. So sidehustleaccounting.com.au, or you can shoot us an email at admin@sidehustleaccounting.com.au.
Brilliant. I'll link those up in the show notes. That's so wonderful. That wraps up this short and snackable episode of Your Bookkeeping Matters. If you enjoyed it and found value in this, I would love it if you could subscribe, leave a review, and share the show with your biz besties. Thanks heaps for tuning in.